All right. Welcome, everyone. My name is Jesse Randall. I am the founder and CEO of Sweater. And Sweater's objective is to open up the venture capital asset class to the general public. And we're in a long slog with the SEC going through that whole fun process of hurry up and wait. So in the meantime, we decided to create a little bit of our own raw story. And we created Founder Saga, which is why we're here today. And I'm excited to have Cam and Sean from Keep Nature Wild here. You guys are fantastic.
Hey,
Pumped
thanks.
to be here.
Yeah, really excited.
Yeah, I'm so for the record, for everyone watching, I've known these guys since they started about 4 years ago, and it's been an incredible journey being in and out of the company and helping them achieve their milestones. My quick plug before I have you guys tell everyone about how this awesome ecosystem you've built. I don't know that I've ever experienced another brand with like such a like a cult following as you guys have created. I mean, like your fans are like raving and they're consistent. It's like I don't know that I've seen a lifestyle brand that pulls people in and then they really stay there and adapt it like as part of the extension of who they are. And and they actually go do stuff. They don't just buy your products. And we'll talk more about that. But it's incredible to me. And you've really built something special.
Yeah, thank you.
that.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, appreciate it.
Yeah. So why don't you give everyone a quick rundown of what Keep Nature Wild is, because I haven't really said it yet, and give them maybe an idea of where you're at as a company today.
Yeah. So Keep Nature Wild, basically we're an outdoor apparel brand with a mission to build community by picking up trash outside. Our focus really from day one has been building community, of a place for people to come together, build relationships, use nature as the medium to find like-minded people and people who want to keep nature wild, to help preserve and protect the outdoors, but do it in a fun and engaging way. And we accomplish that through product sales that fuel the mission, which is picking up a pound of trash for every product we sell. And so we host cleanup events that we put together, mostly in a pre-COVID world, but we're still finding ways to do that. And then we have ambassadors all around the world who once a month will go out, pick up trash, and we celebrate that in what we call impact days.
The craziest thing is that, like you said, Jesse, is we've started as just like this small group of hikers and people who like to be outside, and now we've enlisted, I think, just hit over 20,000 volunteers that have actively been a part of the mission with us, and we've been in all 50 states and
Like
17 countries.
17 countries.
Yeah, where people are actively, stewards of their own wild places wherever they live. And we can talk more about that, but it's just really, really cool that from day one, the focus really has been about, and Sean and I are brother-in-laws, so we already have like this bond, but to build a community of people who are active and want to be a part of something more than just apparel. It's been really, really cool to see.
Yeah, and we've been able to pick up over 400,000 pounds of trash so far. And I mean, we can talk about when we get kind of the origin story, but how quickly that just like that mission side of the business just took a foothold and has just gone crazy from there. So
yeah, that's awesome. Well, you got to show off the product a little bit. I mean, you're wearing something right
today, but
yeah. So tell us about this guy.
Yeah, this is the Wild Bear sweatshirt. It's an all-time, it's a bestseller. And,
we put that thing on anything and it sells.
Yeah. Anyway, that's the style of the company is approachable, nostalgic, fun, cute, friendly, and that's kind of the
easy to wear.
Yeah.
We get people all the time saying it's like their go-to shirt or hat or t-shirt or just something that is easy to grab, easy to wear type product.
Yeah, I love your stuff. I've got that. I'd hike that cap. I wear that thing all the time.
And then we have like hundreds of stickers, which it's National Sticker Day today. So
are
you guys doing your sticker sale today?
Yeah, we are.
Oh, okay. All right. So you've got to tell. All right. So what are the stats? You guys sell so many stickers. So give us an idea. I mean, I know today's not over, but like the last sticker day, like how many stickers did you sell?
Over the holiday season, we did another major sticker sale, and stickers are great because it allows people to make a statement, especially on outdoor things like their water bottles or their Jeep or car or whatever, and yeah, yeah, exactly, and yeah, it was several thousand. I don't know. I honestly, I don't
know
know.
when we package them, but I mean, we
in the tens of
on
thousands.
a sticker sale day, we 10 to 20x our order volume.
Yeah,
just in like
one day.
one day, like one day is a normal day. It's like a 20x on a sticker sale day. So it's bonkers, and people will buy 50 stickers.
Yeah, and it's cool because you'll see like we have a lot of state stickers, and you can see the people, oh, I've been there, and so they'll grab all the stickers where they've been, and yeah, it's cool.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, we love
crazy.
Well, it's clear that you've struck a chord with something that people are passionate about. Yeah, that's awesome. Well, let's why don't we go back and we'll do our typical back of napkin moment, and let's talk about where did this come from? I mean, what was the original idea?
Yeah, so again, Sean and I are brother-in-laws, and so Cassie, my wife, and I, we used to be school teachers. So back in 2013, we graduated school, came back to Arizona, and I had started kind of getting into the WordPress blog sphere in 2013, 2014, and we started documenting hikes that we went on, and so we created this little site called Arizona Hiker's Guide, which is still active and live today. And from that, we started hosting Instagram like group hikes, and that was kind of back in 2014, 2015. That was really big.
That was edgy.
Like,
yeah,
meets and things, and we didn't realize that there were a lot of people like ourselves who wanted to go outside, but maybe like we're a little hesitant because the desert can be an unfriendly place, and so immediately we saw this community go from 10 people to 150 people that wanted to come on a hike, and that's when Sean and I I
would come and take photos and go along for the ride kind of thing. And that my background is in photography, videography, so like, hey, I'll come with you guys to snap some photos. And I just saw like when 100 plus people showed up at 7 a.m. to do Flatiron, which is like the hardest hike within 20 miles from here, on the Friday after Thanksgiving, to get up early and do the most insane hike. I was like, oh, this is crazy. Like,
wait, how many people did you say showed up?
We had to break it up into, because leave no trace principles and hiking etiquette.
Over 100 people.
We had to really break it up. And that's really when Sean and we stepped back and said, one, we have something. There is a community of people that really enjoy this.
Yeah.
And then two, we need to probably pivot and shift from a hiking focused group to a doing good group, because we had so many hands, and on the way we'd be picking up trash, and we'd be talking about all the fun adventures we're going on and things. Yeah. And so we shifted the focus pretty early on from a hiking blog to an actual company that could fund these cleanup or these events. And so that's how it got started. That's how Keep Nature Wild was formed. And then you want us to talk about a little about first product and stuff, or?
Yeah. Well, I mean, so there's clearly a transition that took place, right? From kind of a group community into actually creating products. So what was the first product? How did you get into t-shirts and stuff?
It was reluctantly, really. Like it was, it's a highly competitive space, and really a photographer, school teacher, we didn't really have a background in any sort of merchandise or monetizing anything. And so we would do these group hikes, and we wanted a little logo for the Instagram, the little icon. And so we asked a friend of ours to do it. And so that was our first investment, was in a logo. And that's the Arizona with the cactus and the pines, which symbolize Sean and Cassie growing up in the desert, and me growing up in the pine trees up in Pine Top, and the diversity of the state. And so that's how that was born. And immediately
People are like, give me that on a
stickers,
shirt. How do I get?
Yeah,
Where do I buy one? It's
yeah,
like,
and
what are you talking about?
like we don't know. Like maybe you could make one yourself. I don't know. And so that's kind of how it came from. Is we just
Love that. Go make it yourself.
yeah, we didn't know. You know, we had no idea, and
Yeah.
we were both working full time, so we didn't really imagine something like this would take place.
Yeah, and I think on one of the initial group hikes, it was crazy. I think you and your dad had some samples. Like you had made 2 shirts or something.
Yeah, we did.
And so then like that crowd was even more like, oh, where are you going to sell these shirts and how do I get one? And so it just kind of went from like that one design to this like, oh shoot, we should probably figure out. And then I think Cam had the kind of forethought to think, okay, if we're going to do product and we're going to kind of transition to this mission, we should probably branch our branding and name outside of just Arizona so we can focus on a bigger picture. And I think that kind of is where we really is like, there's still principles to this day that in a whiteboard session in my old office, like bedroom, we sketched out like, okay, if Keep It Wild at the time was going to have like some principles of what the social media was going to look like, what are the pillars that we had this like kind of like brand strategy session. And that's kind of where we started to like,
just came up with a mission and a philosophy and some of the values and the core competencies.
How we were going to drive value and education first and be a giving brand and just, and this was before there wasn't even a brand. It was just kind of like
or product. Really.
It was like, what's the Instagram going to look like? and then I think it just evolved over
years and just blossomed and been really fun. One, working with family and maintaining a friendship and a family dynamic, but also just seeing the brand just naturally grow from a really Arizona brand to really now, 90 out of 100 products we send are out of the state. So it's really been like turned into just a blossoming movement, and it's humbling and just really cool to see that people want to go outside and do what we like to do.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. I totally agree. It's fantastic. So I don't think that you guys have mentioned much about Instagram. You've got quite a following on Instagram, don't you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So what's the number?
We have, I think it's like 270,000 plus followers.
That's no joke.
Instagram and then, I mean, Arizona Hiker's Guide also has, I think, like 85,000, and is very neglected at this point, but still a strong community there. So
yeah. Well, and then you've got your sub community then of, did you call them, I mean, they're wild keepers, right? That's your like actually go out and pick up garbage.
Yep.
Now.
Yeah, we created and the way that started, just quick story of the ambassador program that we now call Wild Keepers, was we got so many emails, inundated with emails of, I see your cool events, your cleanups. Can you come to Indiana? Can you come to Washington? Can you come? We want to do this with you. And so Sean and I thought about, how can we involve people all over the place at any given time where we probably will not be able to attend? How do we get them to join in the mission in real time with us and celebrate in the wins of the poundage that we can pull together? And that's how Wild Keepers was born. And so it's on a term system. We invite people to join in, they apply, and then we commission them to pick up trash.
On a awesome.
Yeah. And there's right now there's about this year we had about 7,500 join, and active right now are about 2,500. About 2,500 people that are
kind of revolving each term. So
yeah, that's awesome. Okay, so let's dive in a couple of areas here, because not everything is sunshine and roses, at least not for most companies.
Yeah.
But we'll get to that in a second. But I kind of want to dive in on you two. So brothers-in-law, I think is the appropriate way to say that. So, I mean, you guys kind of fell into this together, right? I mean, you never had an intention to go out and say, we're going to build a company today, right? It just kind of happened. You picked up the movement and ran with it. I mean, working with family, we've had a few couples that have done this, right? That I've interviewed.
Yep.
I mean, you guys aren't a couple, but yet,
Basically,
so
we are.
you're sisters, right? I mean, your wives are sisters. Am I getting that right?
My wife
No.
is Sean's sister.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the way. Okay, sorry.
Yes,
Yeah,
and
there's a lot of ways that could happen.
I basically spend most of my time more with Sean than I do with Cassie. So I mean, it's basically a marriage here. Yeah.
Fair enough. Okay, so and what's that dynamic like? I mean, like keeping it in the family can be challenging.
Yeah, I think from the get-go, like we were talking about that first meeting, but when it got to a boiling point where we sat down at a desk and said, yo, I'm doing photos, like you're doing this, we could like, this could be a thing. I think we approached it very much like, if we're going to do this, we need to treat business as business and family as family and friendship as friendship, and approach the start of the business with like a professional approach. Like if we're going to partner, we're going to have an agreement in place, and we're going to kind of, so I think we had enough forethought to at least like formalize enough, but then also try to separate like, hey, and obviously there's been times where it's hard and been times where it's great and everything in between. But I think us being very frank and upfront at the beginning that could be an outcome, and trying to kind of hedge early on that, like, look, we can have hardcore business conversations and then go out to dinner with our wives and like be friends, and like those can be two separate like lives and as best we can, let's keep them, siloed.
If I can just I think it's really important to have a partner as a founder, and it's like it would have been impossible for me as a novice to really navigate those waters in the very beginning without another smart head to balance and check ourselves. And so I firmly believe in like a partnership agreement to go forward. At least for us, it's worked really well. And then two, realistically, we are very opposite thinkers, which has really played to our strength. I'm usually the more difficult person and Sean's usually easier to work with. So, and it really does work out when we're hiring or when we're coming up with philosophies or how we want to run the business. There's usually an optimistic approach and then a pessimistic approach, and then we land really in the middle. And that's been really helpful.
And I think we've tried to recognize that as well, like what are your strengths, what are my strengths, what are my weaknesses, what are your weaknesses. And I think probably where most frustration is boiled over is when a weakness has pretended to be a strength either way. And so we try to then recognize, okay, maybe that is a weakness for me, and if that's a strength for you, let's have you take that on, or vice versa. And so I think to Cam's point, I think finding a good balance of like, we are very different, but we also, I don't know anyone that works harder than Cam. And so like the things that are important, we know that like, if we got to bust down this wall, like he's going to be right by my side, and I'm going to be right by his side, and our approach may be different, but we can work through that. And so,
let's be real though. It is a miracle that we haven't killed each other in 5 years working. It is a miracle.
Well, and I want to ask about that, because I mean, like what you just lined out, like on day one, right? That's smart. It's very smart. But it's a little bit idealistic, right? I mean, it's kind of like, well, in the best case scenario. So I mean, 5 years later.
That's Sean's idea, really. I was like, there's nothing to this. Like, let's just make it a group. And he's like, dude, I think
I see this thing. Like, let's.
And then we formalized it because of Sean, or else we would have just continued to float. Really, though, yeah.
So, would you mind? I mean, obviously, not everything has been perfect along the way.
Yeah.
Can you share an example of when things were harder than you thought it would be between the two of you?
All of 2018. I don't know.
Yeah, 2018. When we decided to also open a bakery and a boutique and run 4 businesses at once.
That was really difficult. We just didn't.
That's rough.
Yeah, and that's a whole nother can of worms. That story goes that way real quick, but yeah, I think so.
I think probably when we've been over ambitious, and I think when communication breaks down, when it's like things maybe linger or things aren't addressed, I think I am not good at confrontation or like bringing things up, but I have gotten better at that, I feel, and realized the value of it. And so I feel like when something does boil over, we try to address it quickly and figure out, okay, what is the solution? Like who's right or who's not really who's right or wrong, but like what's the illness, I guess, or what's the actual root of this problem, and then address it quickly. Because if not, it's like, I'm going to see you at Sunday dinner or whenever or wherever, and like we have to resolve it.
I think it can also be summed up in the times that Sean is much better at this, but we struggle really a lot with celebrating our wins. Like we'll just blow right by them, and that's been a real struggle for us as we both have our heads down so much. And I usually take a fairly pessimistic approach where it's like, that was great, but we could have done so much better, and that's really hindered us. And I think that we've started to really calm down and celebrate major victories and really showcase that, and that's really helped in us, because that's where a lot of our struggle came from.
Yeah.
Dude, we're doing good. It's like, well, we're not, we can do better. And, and so
I think setting clear expectations is always a challenge. I mean, anytime there's expectations, someone's pissed, like there's no good, like, met expectation. It's like, well, you should have done that because I expected. It's like being a punter or a field goal kicker on a football team. It's like, you expect that guy to make that field goal. That's his only job. And when he misses, like, so I think it's when we've had expectations and then just like not really set clear goals or been able to celebrate, because it's like, well, we got there because we expected ourselves to get there, instead of really creating a process for goals and celebrating growth and milestones.
And I think you really taught us that, Jesse, early on in the beginning. And what's your saying about missing expectations, or there's tell me, I forget.
All unhappiness is rooted in unmet expectations.
There it is. That really, I mean, that's been true here. So yeah.
Nice. I'm glad I was useful. That's good.
We remember.
Value checkpoint.
Check. Well, let's shift over and talk about products. So, I mean, now you're at a place where you've got hundreds of designs. You've got shirts in every color, size, design variants. I mean, you're really at a pretty complex stage now. So, I mean, let's talk about how you got into nailing this product. I mean, you kind of, that first design stumbled you into this, but you can't build a company off one design. So, I mean, clearly there's talent involved here where, you had to keep creating and keep coming out with new stuff. So what was that process like in the early days? And I mean, even now, right? Like, how do you keep coming up with new material?
In the early days, we were really good at listening to our customers. I mean, they were right next to us. They were our community that we hiked with. And so really Sean early on started running our social media and our email campaigns and things. And so he really took the forefront of asking of like, is this cool? Is this not cool? Would you wear this on red, or does it need to be on black? And so that early on, and we shifted away from that, and now we're really getting back into it. I think that was a big miss on us. But in the early days, that's what we had a few key designs with. Actually, the designer was my next door neighbor when I lived in Flagstaff, and we just kind of stumbled on those. And since day one, I've really been in charge of the vision of the product and the themes and the feelings, and Sean's been involved in marketing that product and expanding on new categories and places that we need to go.
Yeah, and early on, so like one of the catalysts in this early stage of the business was Phoenix Flea is like a big market. It's one of the biggest, probably on the West Coast. It's a very well put together event, flea market, and it's not really a flea market. It's like expensive products and really cool
Yeah,
brands
fleas in
all
a
over
cheek,
the
right?
state, come together on Small Business Saturday every year, and we somehow got in like with a few I think we had 2 products.
We had 3 designs on like 4 or 5 product, a couple stickers and a couple t-shirts.
Yeah.
And I think we had 1 hat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so we kind of prepped. I remember we folded enough shirts, thought, okay, this is good. And Cassie and Cam went in the morning, and Shawnee and I were like, well, if you need us, we'll come at 2. We'll kind of take the latter half. And
because our inventory was in Sean's basement at the time.
We had stuff in my basement, so we'll bring more if we need it. And literally, I think 15 minutes, it starts at 10. I think 10:15, we get a frantic phone call from Cam, get down here, right now.
Yeah.
And I think with in those events, so that was after that event, we all kind of sat down, that was insane. I mean, I think we had a line for 20 minutes to get into our booth that event, and people we saw something there.
I think it just validated that it's I think people like what we're doing.
Yeah. And then I think we learned to go to those events as learning events as well. We would launch product almost every flea to really gauge what were people really attracted to, and there's no better way than right there in front of you. People are grabbing it off the rack, showing a friend. You see that response, and I think that really helped us, especially in the first year or so of product development, was going to those events and just getting that instant feedback from customers. We'd sell out of a certain design on a certain color, oh, we should order a lot of that, or we should maybe replicate around what's working and what's not. So
Yeah. That's awesome. And then, so, I mean, you guys started out, so it was your neighbor friend, it was a designer. I mean, keeping your design theme and your brand theme consistent, that's hard to do. That you've changed designers and brought in other people over time, or has it always been the same designer?
Yeah, we used to, I mean, I think I even designed a few things in Photoshop, but yeah, we've had several freelancers over the years until we could afford to bring somebody on full time, and we just found a gem and one of our best friends and one of the best employees. She started with us as an intern, actually in one of our, I think, signature things that we used to do was we would do a sticker design contest, and we would vote on it, and the best one would win, and they'd win a year's worth of stickers for them to hand out and things.
No,
so
that's cool.
She was in that and won, and we asked her, can you do some intern stuff? And then now she's full-time with us and has been for about a year. But yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's been it was a challenge to get exactly what we wanted from different freelancers that we found and wanted to work with, and keeping that consistent, the Keep Nature Wild kind of consistent feel. But we got into a rhythm, and yeah, I think we have over 800 SKUs now, and
so many designs, and I think just
man, there's so many ways we could dive in on this. I think I have 2 other things I want to talk about. One, I want to jump in on the revenue side a little bit and just talk more about how operationally how this stuff works from a revenue perspective, and then I want to talk a little bit more about just the notions of running the business and the feeling of it, because it's not always pretty and fun, right? So with the revenue side, I mean, you started in e-commerce, right? And things have I mean, obviously you figured a ton out, because you guys started out not having done this, right?
Yeah, correct.
Yeah. So, I mean, you jump online, you're selling it to community, and then you decide you need to keep going. So where did you start? I mean, it was a lot via Instagram, but then when did you start actually advertising and all that kind of stuff?
Yeah, good question. And we did start initially on Instagram, but never sold any product. The features weren't there. We always had Shopify. We started with Shopify, and we're still on Shopify. and that's the only platform that we sell on direct to consumer. We're not on Amazon or other platforms.
Mm-hmm.
And we protected the brand. I'm not exactly sure why, but we really felt strongly about only being a direct to consumer brand. For the first 2 years, we were approached often at like little craft fairs and events, and through email of inquiries of people wanting to have our product in their store. And we turned a lot of people away in the beginning, but now have branched off and are now in about 470 active stores. So yeah, that's been a whole different ball game, something that we've had to really learn and discover, and still are very novice at, and really could use some advice and some
Yeah.
Anybody listening want to
yeah. I think we
Email
also really lucked out with a lot of help from whether it was meeting you early on or other brand friends. I think that's like such a crucial part, was connecting with other brands early on, seeing what worked, what didn't, getting advice there, trying to give advice when we could. But I think Arizona has such a great community, especially in the business world. But I think, I mean, even in like the tech realm, our kind of like tech mantra is like generosity is very much a part of the identity of entrepreneurship in Arizona. And I think that plays true not just in the tech world, but also in the small business kind of e-com world and trade, craft fairs and things, where people have been very generous in helping us, from early on sourcing materials or garments, where to go and what to buy, and then just learning and just digesting it whatever we could. We watched every Gary V video we could get our hands on in 2014, 15, and just tried to find like kind of pillars of content that like really focused on our efforts on the things that we had really no business being in, but we just kind of figured it out. I mean, when we first started doing Facebook ads, it was like, here's this flat lay, let's throw it up there. And had we known at the time how like $2 and $3 acquisition costs and like 4 or 5x returns, just throwing something, I mean, at the time,
if only you had known.
anything you put on Facebook ads
and we
popped. And so
we were deep into, I mean, it was late 2017, 2018 that we started doing anything other than organic traffic.
Yeah.
And really, I think Sean hit it, like, man, the community, I never would have thought that if we just asked other entrepreneurs, like, how do you guys do your returns? They like tell you right away. And it's like, and Sean has really pounded in this collaborate over compete type of mentality. And we've tried to reciprocate that. And just overwhelmed by the amount of just free and easy help from other people that are also struggling in this entrepreneurial life.
Yeah. Well, I mean, so that position in time, you're like looking at something and you don't know what to do. I mean, I don't know, maybe you guys imagined yourself being where you are now 5 years ago. And maybe that was just a natural place for you to go. But like when you're staring at this hill that you've never hiked before, right? Man, I'm coming up with the analogies today. Yeah, that's good. But you're looking at this thing, and you don't know where to go. I mean, what is that feeling like when you're like, there's more to this? I don't know how to do this. Like, tell us about that feeling and what drove you to go and interact with other founders.
For me, it was like a feeling of like backed into a corner. It's like, we have to figure it out or we're gonna die, or keep doing this manually for free after hours by ourselves at midnight. And so for me, it was like, we've got to figure it out. And you can only watch so many YouTube videos and do so many things. So for me, it was a lot of asking, and man, the help has been great. But I don't.
Yeah, I think for me, I'd been a part of as like I went to BYU. I lived in Provo for 3 or 4 years and was very kind of embedded in as that startup ecosystem was kind of blossoming, and like co-working spaces were just becoming a thing, and just that realization that Cam described, that I could sit down with CEOs or investors or people who had gone and done and sold huge businesses, and they would just have a conversation with me and mentor me or guide me in what I was working on at the time. And just I think really it's people along the way who have helped open our eyes to the fact that like there is help, and people are willing to give that help very freely and very willingly, especially if you approach it in a how can I provide value back if in any way, or I'm not trying to take advantage of any situation. But I think as to what you described, I think really seeing early on the passion of our community, I think helped us push through any like fear or challenge, because it was just like this thing's already unlocked, like it's already like it's ahead of us, whether we're going to catch up to it or not. Like it's going, like these people are passionate, they're doing really cool things and coming together through our social media channels and connecting and wanting to clean and like pushing us to pick up more trash and to do more and make more product and grow. So it was almost like
desperation.
We just had to like this thing was moving along, and we had to like figure it out, or it was gonna like kind of out our own invention was gonna outgrow us.
Well, and what you're describing is so awesome though. Like the ability for founders to turn around and send the elevator back down, so to speak, and help each other out. It's I think that's the nature of an ecosystem, right? And an ecosystem doesn't have to be like a physical location, like around you guys in Phoenix. I mean, an ecosystem is around almost like the industry that you live in,
Totally.
and the other people that are going through the same stuff as you. So, for those founders that are in the middle of it, I think one of the hardest things to give is time, because we're all so strapped for time. So, I mean, for those that are listening, I mean, what would you say to those that are in the trenches who have something to give, but maybe are feeling like at this point in my life, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to interact with other founders because I'm busy. What would you say to them?
Got it. I think, well, as you were describing that, I think we found very quickly too, like, I think so from a business perspective, like, for example, we do a lot of giveaways with brands early on, and still to this day do giveaways and collaborate. And you found the brands that like, one, you found very quickly that large brands don't get it as much as small brands. And like people that we wanted to work with were just easy, and we're like just on a similar plane of giving, of collaborating, of trying to do this giveaway that was valuable to our communities, that also helped each brand grow. And I think the same is true. I think you're a good example. Like when we first conversations, like when there's that flow of, you can kind of get that vibe from someone. And so to your question, I think it's just being willing when the opportunity presents itself, because it is hard to say no and it is hard to say yes. You have so much going on every day that it's like, how do I turn around and start helping? But I think it'll naturally occur if you're open to it, if you're open to that exchange and you have the mentality of give, more than you get. I think karma works.
And maybe realizing the impact of 10 minutes of your time could have on someone like ourselves. I can't even tell you how many times we've been working on something for months and trial and error with apps or with different programs, and then we ask and someone tells us in 5 minutes what we have been struggling with for a month. And so there's a lot of impact, you know, and our business is not unique, and there are people who have been doing this for ages that have a lot of value. And so, yeah, there's a lot of impact in just a couple minutes of some experts opinions and experience.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, I want to give the last 5 minutes to you guys, and, you know, just look at the founders that are out there that are in the trenches or thinking about jumping in. You know, what advice would you give them? What do you wish you would have known when you first started?
For me, the coolest part of our business, the only part of our business that makes us really unique, is the people that we serve, and the really simple mission that we've gotten behind. If you think about it, any person, even especially the little guys, you know, the little kids that come out, can pick up trash. You know, anyone can do it, and it is everywhere. And that's what I think is really special about what has happened with Keep Nature Wild. Is it's not the apparel, it's not the tech stack that we use, it's not anything like that. It really is I think Sean and I, the biggest strength that we have is our ability to be open, honest, positive, and really care about the people that we want to serve. And I think that really comes through, especially in a hyper competitive space. You have to be transparent, and you have to be actually authentic. Because if you don't actually care, and you don't actually really care about the person that's going to be the end user of your product, then that is found out really quickly. And we've learned that from early on from great mentors and great friends of our, you know, Thread Wallets and Wandered and these other companies that we look up to. It's like they authentically care about their people, their product, and the customers they serve.
Yeah, and I think to that point, early on in these conversations that we had on our whiteboard and subsequent meetings, of selling was always secondary from the get-go. It was something that we repeated over and over, and we wanted to provide value first. And so I think one of our biggest strengths was really kind of, we had kind of these meaningful conversations early on. And then I think the thing that really has gotten us to where we're is speed. Like, we just, once we kind of like put at least some structure to the identity of where we were going, had at least a, you know, a faint North Star. It was like, let's get there as fast as we can. And then once we were closer, it was like, okay, maybe we need to rehuddle and rethink. And then like as fast as we can. And then if I have any advice for anyone, is speed. It's like, we could have, you know, and we've seen brands or where speed hasn't been a friend to them, and it's just, I think, affected them negatively. And for us, it's like, if there's one thing we're good at, it's moving fast, to our detriment at times, but like the net positive of just moving fast and breaking things and just like figuring it out as we go. We could have just had that one design and then slowly said, well, let's see how long that lasts. And once that kind of dies, maybe we do another one. But it was like, that was starting to take off. So let's do 6 more designs, and then let's do
100,
10 more. And then let's, you know, and just like speed, I think, has been the thing. And I think when we've forgotten that, or tried to overthink or overcomplicate, or really try to like,
there's a lot of value in there's a lot to your point, there's a lot of value in course correcting and the lessons that we've learned. Again, coming as novices, we've needed to learn as many lessons as possible, and with speed comes a lot of failure, and so and a lot of course correction. And when you have a community that, and not only a customer community, but also an entrepreneurial community, they can help you course correct fast, and those have been very valuable to us.
And I think that's the growing pain that we're at today, is speed has gotten us to here, and speed needs to continue, but now we have a team. And when the first 3 years, it was just working side by side, we could be even faster and make decisions like, hey, what do you think about this design? I think it looks cool. Put it on a shirt.
Submit.
Cool. Go. Hey, what do you think about this post? Yeah, it looks cool. Let's go. And so I think at this stage, the growing pain is how do we build processes and structure so that our team can also move fast, but that we're not all moving fast in opposite directions.
Yeah.
And I think that's now, the pivot point we're at now and trying to learn and grow is like, how do we scale and maintain speed and learning, but do it now with a team of 8 to 10
Right.
people, and
Right. Yeah. Well, you guys are awesome. Thank you. I think that's moving fast, right, is probably one of the most important, underrated, less talked about elements of startup world. I mean, it's like it's implied, but to have the mentality of don't be afraid of making mistakes and just go, right, is
the one thing
probably
you can
paramount.
control and can always control
Yeah.
in some aspects,
Mm-hmm.
how hard
That's
and
awesome.
how fast we can go.
Yeah. That's right. Well, guys, thank you for spending time with us today. I think that analyzing this notion of creating a brand that does good is something that's become more common since you guys first started it, right?
Yeah.
There are great brands that are doing this, and I don't think there's any reason why every brand couldn't layer this kind of element in, because there's always an audience out there that aligns with it. And if you're strategic and sincere, right, and really believe it, that it's the kind of thing that can really elevate a business and create an opportunity, right?
Yeah. Awesome. You're awesome, Jesse. Yeah. Thank you.
Thanks for having me.
Hey, you guys are the best. All right. Thanks everyone for coming in, and we'll see y'all next time.
Yeah. Thank you.